Welcome to the Perfectly Sane Show, episode 674. I am Chris. Tony's mouth hurts.
Yeah, Tony.
Not here. Earl is here.
I am rural juror. Wait, I can't say I'm on a jury case, can I? I am not on a jury case. I did not live in New York. I am not juror number 13.
Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to announce that you're a juror as the trial's going on.
I'm not a juror, is what I said.
Not a juror. Earl is not a juror. That is correct.
Looking forward.
And Jeff is here as well.
Did they finally find like 10 people who don't have an opinion on Trump in New York?
Nope.
They did seat 12, though. I think they did seat them today. I'm sure they have opinions.
12 of our best and brightest.
Did they seat 12?
Yeah, I saw a news report earlier that they had seated 12. They removed 2, though, from previously.
Yeah.
They had already sat some. But two jurors that had already been seated had to be removed, but they've seated the entire jury. I guess they have alternates they have to find.
Yes, they have to find 6 alternates, I think. Yeah, it's an utter shit show because, to Jeff's point, it's very hard to find somebody who does not have opinion for a guy who was president for 4 years. It's hard to say, like, oh, I don't know who he is.
Well, because he's been up their ass for fucking ever. You know.
Yeah, I think it would be very hard to find anybody on the East Coast that does not have some opinion of him in the upper Northeast. He fucked up all of Atlantic City. He basically destroyed that town. They're just digging their way out of it. So anyway, we're back. Yeah, we took off last week. I wasn't feeling great. Earl was out drinking. He would have come back if we had recorded, but
yeah,
he was out.
We came in first second to trivia. I said first and a half. We tied for first, but we also tiebreaker question, so we technically counted as second. But I supported some of it. My friends did most of the work. We really showed the team really came together. There's a round on fictional birds, and we dominated that round. And that's what put us in first until the very last. And then we messed up on. Oddly enough, fictional birds, no problem. Knowing stuff about Staten Island, a borough in New York, no idea.
Fictional birds, like what? Like what would be an example?
Falcon Leghorn, Red from Angry Birds.
Got
it. Red from Angry Birds really put us over because some people just put Angry Bird, not knowing.
And he has a name.
His name is just Red. We almost lost the point because this is a semantical argument I was having with my friends. They put Redbird. I'm like, his name is just Red. I wanted to say Red and then parentheses Angry Birds, but his name is just Red. And they put Redbird, and we had to fight with them because we knew the name.
Right.
It wasn't like we called him Redbird, like his name is Red. So we did get that.
Like his last name's Bird.
I honestly don't know, but it's also one of those things where it's like it made me think about one, Angry Birds is like a decade old, and there's not a ton of news I can go on this other tangent. One of my best friends is throwing a birthday party for his son's 7th birthday, I want to say, and so they were going to rent a gaming. I don't know if you've seen them, like those gaming trucks.
Yeah, they like pull up. It's like a bus type thing, or a tractor, and it has a bunch of like game consoles and stuff on it.
Yeah, and it's like a bunch of chairs and stuff like that. And like his wife was all for it. He wasn't keen on the idea, partially because he sent it to us for feedback, and I think we agreed we could put together something. You could put together something like that, probably much cheaper and a bit more unique. So I spent like Tuesday, I should say, I think, planning a birthday party for the kid. And like all my ideas were like, oh, what are kids into? And it's like Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja. I'm like, I don't think kids know what those are anymore. I'm like, what can we do to get it to be Roblox or Fortnite? And I hope he goes with my idea for Fortnite. We are buying a bunch of like cheap Nerf guns and hiding them around the yard, and then like creating forts out of like cardboard boxes that people can hide in.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then for Angry Birds, because Angry Birds. I mean, I think just because it's a kinetic game, I'm like, oh, you can like create a slingshot, and then have like cardboard boxes that you can throw the birds. So I forgot the premise of the game is the opposite. You're trying to knock the birds off of the tower.
Yes.
Yes. So I was like, oh, I completely forgot because I was like, oh, you use the birds to knock down, but you do use the birds to knock down other birds.
Yeah, they're warring factions of
Oh,
birds.
okay, there we go. So I'm like, yeah. So that just I'm not blabbering that just to come full circle. Like, yeah, that was like Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja and all that stuff was like 15 years ago, and it seems so insane to think about that now.
I could see Angry Birds still being
I mean, I think part of
popular
it,
with kids.
yeah, because it had like the Netflix show and it had the movies.
Yeah.
But even then, the movies are like 10 years old. I think the first one. I think the second one's probably a bit more recent. I think it was before Sonic, but maybe after Detective Pikachu. I don't know.
Birds 2. The 2019.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. I think Sonic is no wait, Sonic is 2019, right? No, Sonic. When is Sonic? Because I feel like Sonic. No, Sonic started 2020.
2020.
Yeah, because like one of the last
It's
movies I saw was the
COVID, right?
pandemic. Yeah, it was right before COVID. It was like the last big movie. I think that and Birds of Prey. Oh, I mean, if you were dumb, Bloodshot with Vin Diesel.
Forgot that movie existed.
I think we do. I think Vin Diesel hopes that you forgot it existed.
Invisible Man.
Yeah,
That was the last movie I saw before
that's the movie I
pandemic.
saw in theaters as well. I was gonna go see Onward, but I think Onward opened like the Friday. Everything was knocking down. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so empty. And somebody talked me out of it. And I'm like, I was happy that was not the last movie I saw in cinemas for almost a year and a half. I think the next movie I saw would have been which I was also disappointed in, Black Widow. I think
Okay.
because like, yeah, it was back when like I would like just like stalk the Regal thing. Like, okay, there's like nobody going to this movie. If I go like like if I go at like 1:30 in the afternoon and get a seat in the way back and like on the side, I
It would
can
just be you.
yeah.
Understandable. Well, I hope the birthday party goes well.
I'm curious to hear how it goes as well.
I think the Fortnite thing is be pretty neat. It's kind of cool to like run around, find Nerf guns, and then
Yeah,
have
I
like
think that
little cardboard forts. It's kind of cool. Who knew? Did we lose something there? I heard a weird beep.
oh,
Anyway, yeah, no, I don't know what that was. Uh yeah, so we were away last week. Not much going on game wise. Like really not a whole lot. Jeff, you played more Dragon's Dogma.
Yes.
A bunch more, I believe.
Yeah.
But not much more to report there. Just like it's an adventure.
I'm
Right.
at the point. I am at the point with it where I'm getting bored. Like I think I'm stepping away from it. So I've been playing it up until today, and for like the last, I don't know, 10 hours or so, I'm really just grinding. Like I'm doing little side missions, and like it will send you all the way across the map on like this giant fucking journey and you're doing a lot of grinding along the way, just fighting the same mini bosses you fought before.
And this doesn't
And
have
I've reached
no,
what's that?
this doesn't have a ton of fast travel either, right? That was one of the things that came.
No, very little. Like you need a fairy
Okay.
stone, and you could buy them, but they're not really cheap. And yeah, and you only have like so many points that you could fast travel to. You have to have these crystals that you place, and I only have one, so it's like you're basically walking everywhere you want to go. And there is like this dragon I have to beat. I believe I have to beat to like advance the main story and send it to the end game.
Mm-hmm.
I was vastly underleveled when I tried that like last week or whatever. I was like at least 11 levels lower than you had to be. Now I was like one level below, and I was like, you know what? I'm really getting bored. I'm gonna go back and try to fight it. We almost got it, but I got killed, and I'm just like, I just feel like the game has shown me everything that it's gonna show me. Like I don't know what I'm playing for anymore, and I'm just like, I think the main reason that's kept me going for as long as I have is because there's just not a lot of games out.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, so not really much to report. It's just like I feel like I've seen it all. It's in a way, it's kind of like Monster Hunter, and like after you've played like the first 5 or so hours of Monster Hunter, that's really all you're gonna see. It's just you're gonna fight a different monster,
Right.
Yeah.
And here it's just almost worse. So because like every time I like go out on a path from one town to another, okay, I'm gonna run into this big, giant here, and he'll be back. Like they respawn. It's like I can fight him again. I guess great. I'm leveling up. I'm grinding. I'm bored. It's a good game. Like don't get me wrong. And like I've always said, it has its charms. But like, man, is it like also just okay?
That's fine.
I don't know.
I think it's fine.
It's fine. It'll probably be in my top 10, but
But that's more because there's not a ton of options right now.
Yeah, well, there's that too, but no, it has its merits. But I am pretty much again. I just feel like it's shown me everything it's going to show me. Okay, what I'm going to fight this dragon, then what? I'm going to fight another dragon. Great, like cool, man. Like game is okay.
I have not. I did not get a chance to play any more of it since we last talked, and that's fine. I will get to it at some point, but what I have played and what I know Earl has played is more Balatro, and Earl has completed a few runs now.
Yeah, there's nothing great. Like the first time I completed a run, I was so damn ecstatic. And then my second run, I almost screwed myself over because I misread the card that I was buying. It was like it's like -1 hand, -1 ante. So I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a negative hand, but I'm gonna go up an ante. It's like, no, you go back an ante. I'm like, wait, what? So I have to do 2 more rounds. But lucky enough for me, I was able to find a victory with 2 different decks. So, yes, and it's just it still remains kind of. I mean, I don't know why it works. I feel like it shouldn't, but it does so well.
I think it works because it's so simple. Like everybody understands. Everybody understands poker hands. They may not all understand how to play poker, but they understand poker hands. And then, like, if I play these, I'm going to get bonus points, or bigger, better hands get more points. And I think it's just so simple that
in theory, it's just again, I mean, and then like I said, and then the other thing about it, the thing that makes it so genius for me is like it's not like sometimes. I mean, most of the time, it ends up being that you don't necessarily want better hands. Like the first one I won, I think it was with I had my deck favored playing hands with 3 or less cards because of the Joker I had, and then like so you put in points and take a pair and 3 of a kind, and that worked out better. The second time I did it, it was 2 pairs, and that was like because every time I played exactly 4 cards, my Joker would get, I think, +5 for
The multiplier.
yeah. So it's like you do that, and it just you're always increasing that base number. And then like I had one where it's like like I paid, I think it's the gold deck. That's
Hmm.
like like you get, instead of like, because you get paid out at the end of the round for how many hands you got. Yeah, it's it pays you out for how many not giants, how many this cards you still have, and how many, but you don't get interest. But I'm like, I just racked up so much money that like I was showing my friends, like, you rerolled that much. I'm like, at that point, I just had so much money. I had like, I had fall jokers, I had negative jokers. Um, I had like, I was buying like every voucher I found. I was opening cards, and again, it's like Shade Aspire, in that it took me not too long, but to also understand like, oh, you don't actually need to add cards to your hand constantly, and sometimes it's to your disadvantage to keep on making your deck bigger. Um, because I would always buy the pack. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy this pack. I'm gonna make a face card, and this is worth it. But I'm like, yeah, it just means like, if I have a particular type of hand I want to get, it's harder to get if I don't have, if there's a bunch of other cards in the way as well. Like the new deck I was trying out today is, you don't start with any face cards, which does mean that you have lower scoring, because the face cards I think are 10 or 11. But it means that you start off with 12 S cards in your hand, which makes it easier to get like a straight or a flush, because, well, I guess not a flush because mathematically you use the same things, but a straight, it's just easier to get those numbers. And then it's like, okay, then you won't, like, I won't pick a Joker that's like every time you score a face card, or H face. Like, yeah, just avoid that stuff. So again, different strategies for different decks, and how it works out, it's always just such a grand time.
I have played also a bunch more Balatro, and I have still yet to clear a run. Like, I just never make it.
I don't think I've not made it to ante 8 yet on the first run. I've made it to 7, but I've not made it to 8.
The other thing I was gonna say, and it's like, there's one joke that I was, because again, I abused the hell out of for one of my runs to win, which is like, discard this Joker to reroll the boss battle. I'm like, yeah, because especially when it's like, do it all in one hand, or like you have to do it with like a big blind.
I
I
hate the
do
one that's like, yeah, you could only play one hand for this round. Okay, thanks.
like one type of hand, sure, but one hand, I'm like,
Yeah,
not
that's
good.
even worse.
Yeah, the one type of hand is brutal too, though, because it's like, I didn't read it correctly. I thought it was just play one hand, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to get this. So I played the best hand I had, and then it's like,
And then
oh,
everything.
it
Yeah,
didn't end.
you want to do like a 2-pair, for that, like, because you could do two
Well,
pairs are easy to pull off.
but again, it's something that you have to like make sure you have points invested in, because like, yes, 2 points are great, but like, if you aren't getting multipliers for it, you still have to hit the blind score.
Yeah, and like I think that I got that one on like round ante 7 or whatever, and like that those boss blinds are starting to get high. I think that was like 70,000 or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
this is tough to get,
You know
even
what?
with all the bonuses I had put through.
You know what's funny is the more I play the game and like understand it, the worse I'm getting. Like, I was not buying planet cards forever, and then finally I started buying them. I'm like, oh, they like
they added
upgrade your
multiplier.
hand, like,
Yeah,
like, and so like now, okay, if I don't have a good Joker out there, I'll buy a planet card or whatever, right? And so like I'm playing the game way better, and I'm just still not getting any further. I still love it. I think Balatro is, like, right now, game of the year for me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think it might be like game of the year this early in. It's so good. Like, it's just like it's a game you can, you pop in, you get like a bad run and you're done in like 15 minutes, but like a good run, you're playing half hour, 40 minutes, and then you move on with your day. It's easy to jump in and out of.
yeah,
Fun game to play while you're buzzed too, because like, you don't really have to remember what you're doing or anything. You're just playing cards. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And the other thing, Nobody. It's also a really good one if you're working from home and it's a quiet day. 'Cause I have it on the Switch, so I'm like, yeah, I could just run. I could just have this going, and it's not like it's a time limit or like, oh, you're in a crunch. It's like, yeah, the game's not. You don't get penalized if you sit there for half an hour looking at
You
the
don't have to
same set of
pause it. You can
cards.
set it down.
Yeah.
It's just it's and yeah, like going back to like what you guys said at the top. It's just the simplicity of it. It's just poker, but it's just like poker with different variables every time, and that makes each run kind of different, and it keeps it fun.
I wish there, and I mean, it would probably fundamentally change the way the game is. But I wish there was ways to like upgrade your deck, like because like as you're playing, oh, you get a tarot card or a spectral card or something. It does like it upgrades your card to like now it produces a multiplier plus an extra 10 chips for every time it's in your hand. I wish some of that carried over as opposed to
Oh, you
resetting
meant
each
like,
time.
Yeah, I think
um,
I do too, Chris. Like, I wish there was more permanence to like your progress, but I think it would break the game quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's like,
you would quickly beat it because
yeah.
like you're just upgrading your cards as you're playing.
yeah,
But I'm with you. I mean, that's part of why I love Vampire Survivors, which, by the way, is getting some cool DLC coming. I don't know if you guys saw that. Because there is that permanence, like, and eventually you do become overpowered in Vampire Survivors. You could pretty much survive most runs. I don't know how you make that work with this, but I hear you.
yeah.
I think the same thing.
It's still great. Like it's just,
Yeah,
I
no.
do wish there was some level of permanence, like whether it's like, oh, you have a set of jokers that you can permanently have, or maybe your celestial cards don't always drop down. I mean, I haven't completed a run, so I don't know how the higher difficulties work or
The higher difficulties are the a variety, the different multipliers. And I'm playing Fortnite. I'd go check, but like, yes, there are difficulties and stuff like that. I think part of it for them, I think the permanent multipliers, I think in their head is like, like the jokers you unlock, because there are jokers you unlock for like finishing your first run. There's one joker which I might spoil for you folks. I don't know if you buy that crap. What is that? The bank voucher.
Mhm.
I think 10 times you'll get like a really powerful joker that gets unlocked.
Oh, I
So
was wondering. I bought it once and it did nothing. I was like, okay, I guess it does
yeah,
nothing.
So is it like it unlocks that it'll then show up in the store or
yeah, I think it
okay.
shows up in the store.
Like
But
it's
then
in the
I think,
rotation.
yeah,
Like yeah,
but
you won't always get it. Or
yeah, it's the same way. But again, it's like it's one of those things where it's weird because like, yes, you have like like the different types of jokers, because not the different types, but like the types of jokers, because you can have a normal joker, which is the default. You can have a fall joker, a polychrome joker, a negative joker, and I think there's one more. And each like there's one joker, like like it's just an added buff on top of it. So like I think polychrome is like plus 4 multipliers just for that joker. So anytime it's plus 4 automatically. The other one I think is plus 50 um chips. The negative
that's
joker,
like a
which
permanent upgrade.
no, it's just
Yeah.
the type of joker. The negative joker is a fascinating one because you would think with the name, but it actually adds an additional joker shot to your hand for that turn.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like you can have. I mean, I guess in theory, if all of your jokers had a negative, you can have up to 10. I don't know if there's a max.
You know what?
Hmm.
This is just me giving an idea. Like what could be like one way they could do like the permanent upgrades is like if you make it to Annie 8, you could sacrifice your run for some sort of permanent upgrade. Something like that. Something like so that it doesn't just make you like you'll roll over the game immediately. But anyways, regardless, still a good game.
Yeah, yeah. Enjoying playing it. I kind of feel Jeff, like you did, like, oh, I'm understanding it more as I'm playing it, but I'm getting worse.
Yeah,
but then
it's
like I have a good run, like, so it's like just I'm getting shitty cards or I'm getting shitty, jokers
Yeah.
or like just the RNG is not
I
matching up
just
all the time with me.
I
Well,
just had some runs early on where I got so lucky, and I had so many cool jokers where I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna win!" But I
oh yeah,
didn't. And maybe then, if back then, if I would been playing the planet cards and shit, I would have, I would have made it. I don't
yeah.
know, but
The only tips I can give you that I is don't like I don't like the first two or three hands or whatever. I usually just go for like a full house or a flush with those because you're just trying to get points. But like try to determine like the first one or two jokers you buy should try to determine the type of hand you want to play. And the thing I've learned, which is again kind of intuitive to how we pretend to play video games, is I sell jokers when it was like, oh, you were really helpful, but this isn't helping this run anymore. So I'm
oh
gonna.
yeah, I'll sell. Yeah,
I did not sell them for a long time, but like, I mean, there were two that I sold. It was always the ones where it's like, like every time you do this, it triggers like it goes down every round though.
yeah. And
Like,
you're like,
yeah,
it's time to, yeah.
yeah.
Like
It's like,
I always have, if I have a full set of jokers, I always have my eye on one or two that are going to be, up for sale if
yeah.
something better comes along. And then, yeah, you do have to factor in the ones that lose potency every round.
Or like I had one, which was again really helpful early game, which was like every round. I think the resale value of my jokers and my panic cards or the consumables went up. So like I can hold it, and if I had to sell something, I'm like, oh, that's great. But it got to the point where I'm like, oh, I have money. I don't need this anymore. You gotta go. So I need something that starts giving me actual multipliers now because I need the points. Because after a while, every little multiplier helps. Um, and then like sometimes, and I did not. I mean, I think this is a thing. I should confirm it. Um, is like being able to rearrange the jokers or rearrange your cards because sometimes like there's like the cards which is like give you 1.5 multiplier, but like if it triggers first it doesn't help because like your big points are at the very end and everything else has gone through. Like making sure like that's the last one or something or close to the last one, like you're maximizing the 1.5 multiplier.
Makes sense. Um, really think Tony should play this game.
Good.
I
If you like cards, you will not regret buying Balatro. Just straight up fact.
I think Tony would like it, but I also think I think there's a very good chance this ends up high on our end of the year list.
As of right now, 4 months into the year.
And I think Tony's gonna if he doesn't play it, he might be like, you guys are nuts. Like a $15 card game is the game you guys are championing.
Hey, what else is there? It ain't gonna be Dragon's Dogma for me, I'll tell you that.
Right. Like I think we're kind of like the games we play, I think he would be very much into I think his support right now would be Helldivers. Because he's played a ton of it. I don't know if we have a consensus outside of Balatro at this point that we all very much like. There's still plenty of time left in the year, but
yes, I mean the problem isn't the time in the year. The problem is the games in the year.
true. As before we started, we were looking at the release list, and it's a bit barren.
I did touch on this a minute ago, though. Did you guys see the Vampire Survivors DLC that's coming?
Are they doing a Castlevania one? Or, no, that was Dead Cell. But
Contra, baby.
Oh yeah, they are doing Contra. Yes, I did see that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Contra would make I think Contra would be a very good game for that.
Absolutely. I think it's only one new map, but it's
It's
a bunch of
Galuga.
bunch of I don't know, bunch of whatchamacallit, weapons and characters and shit getting added, and I will be all over that. Like fucking, I'll buy every DLC for that game.
But their DLC is so cheap too that
Yeah.
it's
let's
The
say
game
also the
itself was
game itself
like
is like
nothing.
$2,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
the game was cheap itself. Um, yeah, that game's great, and I'll probably play that DLC too, Jeff.
Forgot when they. I don't know if they said when it's coming, but I'm sure it's soon.
Yeah. So unless you guys played anything else,
Uh, I mean, not anything new, but real quick, because I started it, and I guess it's relatively new in the grand scheme of things. Sonic Superstars, because I ended up, I mean, I think I told you I bought this. It was on sale for like $20 a couple of weeks ago on Best Buy, I want to say.
Mhm.
A couple of months. This was like back in February now that I think about it. And so I was like, yeah, I wanted to fire it up. And I mean, I guess the grand scheme of, oh, Jeff, you played this, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so I picked Knuckles because, of the. Is the story, are the levels different based off of the characters, or is it just you pick a character?
I play as Sonic, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, you never
I
played.
have to imagine. I don't know.
Like,
I
there is
never
some,
ever play as Knuckles either. By the way, so it's like
there's some
I couldn't tell you.
specific, there's some Sonic specific stuff because I played as Knuckles, and I think after the second world, there's a level where like the enemy like crashes, and then it's like, do you want to go to the next level or do you want to play like the Sonic stage of this? And Sonic is kind of like running backwards from it. So so that's why I was curious. So, but yeah, the game is fine. I think like yeah, I think fine is the best way to describe it. It doesn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't necessarily do anything super great. It feels kind of chunky. I think, and there's no
that
way.
is not that is not a glowing endorsement, Earl.
No, so I
Sonic shouldn't feel clunky.
I think the thing that
I I liked the game Earl until I hated it, and it had to do with the bosses, which at first I thought was like I thought they were really cool because they were more challenging than you would expect. And I was like, oh, that's neat. Like, give me a challenging boss battle. But like later in the game, as like the monkey paw, it's like, oh fuck no, these fucking battles suck. Like they're just too much. Like, so that's what made me fall off of it pretty
I
late
don't
in the
think
game.
I don't think I got there yet. Though the second boss is kind of annoying. The one that kind of spins around the podium. Um, just because I think I forget if that it was the first or second. Like it goes off screen sometimes, and you have to know like when to jump over it. But I was gonna say I think for me more so, and I mean it's hard to like navigate that, but like the fact that like you go and I know all the Sonic games did this, but I feel like they were a bit more like, oh, we're just gonna have like where you go up and down, back and like you never necessarily know like, oh, I need to go back in this level, go around to make progress. And it's because again, like I'm always like platformers, you move forward. And again, I know Sonic has always been about multiple routes, which is fine. But I feel like it's slightly different sometimes when it's like, oh, you have to go up and then you have to go back and then you have to go up and then you go forward. Where I feel like that's kind of counterproductive to the level design that I wanted, which is like, oh, make me find the best path forward, not necessarily this weird kind of like staircase up.
I didn't mind that. I get what you're saying. I didn't mind that. It really came down to me. One, I think the game is like an average 2D Sonic game. Like it looks obviously pretty good because it's new, but like, and again, for me, the bosses were a feature at first, and then it was like, oh god, they fucking ruined the game. I didn't have problems with the pathing, I don't think, and I like when Sonic kind of makes you stop here and there, and you have to go, okay, what am I doing? Like, not
No,
just
and
flying through it.
I get that, and I'm with that. It's just not always that. Sometimes it's not about thinking. It's just, oh, you missed a turn. Like there's like the ramps, like you have to like push to the side, or you end up just going up and down constantly. Or the vines, in the second world where it's like, oh, there's a part where I think it's like an endless fall if you don't know to like latch onto one of the sides and continue the stage. But again, I could be wrong in that regard. But yeah, yeah. I mean, for $20 so far, it's I will continue to play it and try to finish it up.
Hey, $20 is not bad.
Yeah, it was just staring me in the face because it's that and Prince of Persia, but you do also need to open, and it was just on top. So
I told you guys I got sick of Dragon's Dogma, probably about a week ago, but finally today I was like, fuck this. Started playing a game called Fallout New Vegas.
I wonder why.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm like an hour or two into that. I'm not going to say anything new or exciting because it's Fallout New Vegas, but the funny thing about me is like when I play an RPG, I always try to be like a good guy in it, right?
Yeah,
I'm
understandable.
Most
people do.
I'm actually like really bad at trying to do like an evil run, and I've discovered that now because that's what I'm trying to do here. Is I even named myself Evil Jeff. They give you a whole like psych exam stuff at the beginning, and I just said the most terrible things, and made it. Oh, I'm gonna be a dick. I'm already fucking that up. Like I'm really bad at playing Fallout as like a piece of shit asshole. Like right away, you get to this town. There's people like, "Can you help us? These fucking raiders are gonna come and fuck our shit up." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then I'm like, "I want to go. Like, how do I help the raiders?" And I look it up, and they're like, they're like right outside the town. You just gotta go talk to them. Well, I go to talk to them, and it's like I could not get it to work because I had already agreed to help the people in the town. So it just would not work. So like, right away, first mission, I'm like helping the fucking good guys. I'm like, God damn it, man! I could not break out of just doing like the good thing. I want to be like just fucking shit up and killing everybody, and like have like a maybe there's some achievements tied to that or whatever. See how like the evil playthrough goes.
Some of that feels like gamer brain though, because it's like you do always. I feel like when you help, you're mostly in the action, and that's what we always tend to prioritize. You don't want because like you said like you can help but then you're kind of passively. I'm sure the villagers attack back, but like it's weird. I've never actually tried to pay the ass, so it's one of the reasons why I think I noted this week on Twitter when one of the other billion hot take things were passing around again. I think one of the reasons I actually prefer Alpha Protocol's like choice-based system to Mass Effect is like they were wise to not do a binary good and evil or Paragon and Renegade. It was like there's three choices, and the three choices weren't necessarily black and white. It was like,
well, I think New Vegas does that to an extent. I'm just so
you're just so
I'm so terrible at like you're just like, okay, this sounds fair. Like like I'm still stuck in my head where I'm not entirely evil, and I'm like, I'll do that, or I just mess up like I did here, where I was like, I'm purposely trying to be evil, and I'm like, I even like I tried. The raiders came into the town or whatever. I don't know if the raiders or what. They're the powder gang. They're called. And instead of like shooting at the powder gang, I turned around and shot at the townspeople. And the townspeople just ended up winning the fucking battle and coming and thanking me. And I was like, dude, I was shooting you in the head. What the fuck?
I was shooting you people.
Yeah.
You were giving it a motivation to win.
But I've played again like maybe an hour. That's why I ended up late to this podcast. I lost track of time playing it, but I'm not far into that at all. I am having fun so far though, and I think it's going to pull me away from Dragon's Dogma. I'm pretty sure of this, but there's not much else to add. It's Fallout,
What's old is new again.
Yeah, it's back, dude.
I guess it's a good segue into the Fallout TV show, of which I believe both of you have finished at this point.
Yeah, I finished it last night.
I finished it. Yeah. I don't know how I found time to watch it all at opening weekend, but I did. So
8 episodes or 10?
8.
So I'm nearing the halfway point. I've finished 3 episodes.
The bright side for you is is that the episodes do become normal length after a while. I think the first two are like an hour and 10, and I think everything else is like 45 to 50 minutes.
Yeah, whatever episode 3, which I watched today, was definitely seems shorter than the previous two.
And I'm sure the finale is pretty long. I wasn't paying attention by that. I mean, I was paying attention, but like
It's like an
the
hour.
first two in particular, the first two in particular, I noticed because I was watching them. I think either before I was getting ready to go somewhere or like I had a time crunch. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like one episode and this is it. Like, yeah, it does start to level out.
Yeah, so I'm 3 episodes in, which is like the big event in the third one was like the ghoul catching up to Lucy and like using her as bait to
Oh yeah, dipping her
yeah,
in the
so
water. Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. But yeah, what did you guys think of it? Basically overall.
Well, I
I'm
will just go on.
I'm pretty high on it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, at first, I don't have. I mean, I think we've had this discussion before. I have no real experience with Fallout. I don't play Bethesda games like that. Um, so that said, I thought it was a really good show. I think like, I'm sure as a non-fan, there's a lot of stuff that I missed, but I think it does a really good job of establishing the characters, establishing the world, establishing kind of the threats and the makeup and the backstory. I think it's just a really solid 8 episodes. My biggest problem with it, and this is probably just a me thing, like you said, episode 3 is when the ghoul catches up with Lucy. Is I do think it takes a while for all of this. I don't think the episodes coalesce in not the episodes, the threats. The 3 main threats are Lucy, Maximus, and the ghoul. Um, yeah, I think those are the main 3.
Yeah.
And they intersect, but I don't think they intersect by maybe the end of episode 2. I don't think they intersected yet.
The end of episode 2, they all 3 are on screen.
Yeah, they intersect pretty early.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're at the town there. I don't remember what the town's called, but Lucy, the ghoul catches up to the guy from Lost, and and Lucy is kind of being ushered out of town because she's a vault dweller and they don't want her there.
Okay. So episode 3 is like the big kind of like climatic fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, but again, not. I understand there's a lot to build up. 3 characters, 3 very distinct parts of the world. But like outside of that, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. Like I said, this is just my brain thing. Is every time I heard Lucy's name, I could not think of the daughter from Die Hard.
What?
The daughter's name in Die Hard is Lucy McCain.
Okay. I didn't. Is that her last name? In this
yeah,
show?
their name is McLean. It's spelled different, but yeah. That did occur to me. But at first, I was like, "What are you talking about?" Because she's Lucy.
No, yeah, because
No,
yeah, especially after like you're free and Die Hard, where it's like, yeah, but yeah, yes, it's like I think there's this like McCain or something like that, but I guess pronounced McCain, and because they would say her full name. They would say her full name.
I did not catch it. They've called her Lucy McLean. Maybe they do it later in the show.
Yeah, you get
maybe when she was in the vault too. But what like the parts I've seen right now, I don't remember them calling her that. But
yeah, because I mean, I mean, minor spoilers, but like, yes, the name is important, which is why I think they say it a few times throughout the course of the show.
Got it.
And
so yeah, it's interesting you coming to it not having not having played Bethesda games, not really having that experience with it, but it coming out enjoying it. I guess that does kind of show it's just good television. Like,
Well,
that's what I wanted. Again, I'm not. I don't begrudge fan service. I think fan services, but like as like you want these shows to be accessible by people who've never played the game just as much as it is by people who have. And I think it does a really good job. I mean, part of it is, as far as I can tell, it is divorced from the games in the sense that it's not based off of any. I mean, I think I linked to an interview today where like Todd Howard was saying this is actually a sequel to the games and that it's taken place further than any game this series has so far.
yeah, so the games themselves are all very much divorced from each other as well.
Yeah.
They just take place in this world together. What were you gonna say, Jeff?
No, well, I was gonna say that like it shows that the things that they stick in there, and they stick in a lot if you've played the games, like don't stick out to someone who's watching it just as a TV show. Like it just shows that it works as a TV show. The fact that Earl doesn't really have any connection to this.
But there are things that I find really funny as somebody who's played the games.
Yeah.
There's a line at the end of the third episode. Not the end, but the ghoul is like, the creature's got in the way. He's pissed off at Lucy. He kind of like, ties her up with a leash and starts leading her away. And she's like, "You can't be mean to me, like the golden rule and all that shit." And he's like, "Well, the wasteland has a golden rule," and it's like, "You will forever be I'm paraphrasing, but it's like you'll forever be sidetracked by bullshit. It's like that's the game in a nutshell.
It's thou shall get sidetracked by bullshit every time.
Yeah,
and
great.
I think if you play video games and you have not played Fallout, you'd still get that. Like you understand, like that's what happens in RPGs.
Yes. Yeah,
but it is like a little wink, but like that's what amazes me about this is like on paper, I would never think that what this show pulls off is possible because I'm just going to come out of the gate and say I think this is the best video game adaptation of all time, easily. Like,
okay, that is stronger.
Well, it's not that strong because at least from my perspective, because I think most video game adaptations are fucking terrible and they shouldn't exist in the first place.
You it's interesting because I haven't watched the other one, but like you like The Last of Us, right? Like
I do, but I think one way more credit. Like I think The Last of Us is a better story, but I give this one way more credit because like The Last of Us, that game was like playing through a season of TV. Like so adapting it is a smaller task than adapting an open world RPG that has like, a dozen games or whatever in its series. Like this was like, because the last was like, the last was added things, but it was kind of like a 1-to-1. We're just adapting
the story of
the story that you already saw that was already cinematic. Fallout is like a goofy open world RPG, and
I will agree with you because I said something similar on Twitter this week, not necessarily about Fallout, where somebody's like, "What would you do for a perfect Resident Evil?" Like, I would never base it off of the game. The game has so much lore and so much but do something in that world. The world itself is interesting, and I feel like that's what Fallout does because the world is interesting. The naivety of the vault is interesting, or the politics of it really. In this season with how stuff is done and like some of the revelations you get later on in this show. It's interesting.
Were you surprised by any of the revelations? Because I really wasn't. Like I kind of was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like figured that's where it's going.
Okay, the only thing I
without spoiling,
not necessarily surprised. I thought, again, this is just me. I always assumed that like in Fallout you were like a lone vault hunter. Like you were like somebody who woke up in a vault and I didn't realize like that there were actually still like civilizations that had developed in the vault.
Yeah, there's people.
Oh yeah, like and I mean there are some that there are like I think 4. Like when you wake up in 4, you are the last one.
And I think that's where like a lot of that, because I think 4 was the one that kind of took off in my head, because I did read the Wikipedia, because I think it's 1 or 2 where it's like very similar to like the start of this, where like I think you're even a vault because like a water chip was broken.
Yep,
You have
that's the precise story of 1 is you're leaving to get your water chip repaired.
Well, it's like, God, it's what's so cool about the show is like, one, it doesn't feel beholden to tell like some story that's been told in the games, but it fully embraces what Fallout is. You know what I mean? And like the story of Lucy feels like a protagonist, like the character you would play in a Fallout game. Like you start in a vault for whatever reason, you have to go out in the world, and I think in Fallout 4 is to like find your dad. I want to say like
and 3.
Yeah, so it's like
well, I think 4 is you're finding your wife, your significant other and kid, and 3 is you're looking for your dad. He's the overseer in 3, and the vault is still active. Like there are people in the vault when you leave in 3.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that it like so embraces every little thing about these games, that like the video gamey things, like that would be like if you were pitching it to me, I'm like, no, get rid of this stupid like, but like everything is in there, like the Pip Boy, like you know what I mean, like in the game, that's just like your pause screen. Why would you put that in the show?
Yeah,
it works.
Your
it
HUD,
works.
It's your menus,
but it works. It fucking works. Like everything's in there. Like I couldn't believe it. Like the first episode, I'm like, oh my god, they're using a stim pack. Like what the fuck? Like, so like, I think part of why it works too is it makes me realize how strong the material in Fallout was, like, or how like strong that world is, because like the show nails like the tone and the humor and the look of Fallout, and you just like I appreciated Fallout all again watching this, being like, this is such a neat, fun like idea. Even just like the stuff that takes place back in the 50s is like this retro futuristic 50s thing. Like it's so unique.
This very Make America Great thing. It is. And again, I like that, it's such a weird idealized version of America, because like it doesn't come up in the show that like it's an interracial marriage, which would have been really a kind of a thing back then. And
it is like the vision of the future that people had in the 50s, and it's just a great aesthetic. And the show, like even down to the music, like that's the music you get in the games. Like it's songs that are straight up from the games. Like you could turn the radio on the Pip Boy and it plays the same songs that they're playing in the show. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm like astounded by it. I don't think it's like an amazing show or anything. I'm just like astounded by the fact that they were able to adapt the game, tell an original story while still being true to the game, like 100%. And it's entertaining. It's like it's not like, again, I don't think it's a great show, but it's good. It's a very good show. Plus, which we haven't touched on yet, but for me, anyways, I'm a huge fan of Walton Goggins, and he's fun in this.
Okay, so I'm curious, and I guess these are spoilers for it's a decade-old game. So, what are ghouls in the game?
Oh, Google that shit, Earl, because I had to, because I was like, how is he still alive? And then I looked it up, and there's like a Wikipedia on ghouls, and holy shit, is it detailed, man? Like, I don't know if you could speak on this better, Chris, but like, it's just like, you live longer, but you could get sicker. If you have too much, you could become fucking feral. And I'm like, holy shit, I cannot believe how much lore there is on ghouls.
They're heavily mutated. And they it's not just humans either. Like animals can also be ghouls, but they retain some of their consciousness from previously, but like yeah, if they go too far, then they become feral ghouls, which are basically zombies at that point. Like they, except like rabid zombies, like 28 days later zombies that like chase you. Um, I don't know, like the whole like there are ghouls that you talk to. There are friendly ghouls, I guess, that you talk to in the games. Not really sure how they're working that here with Walt Goggins. Like they dig him up in the game. They dig him up in the show, which is I found that very weird, but
Do they dig him up in the show?
yeah. So there's a I think it's the end of the first episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like a bunch of bandits or something show up in a graveyard and they dig him up.
I thought they went to find him. I will be honest. I was like half asleep when I watched the first episode, so I think it might have been me coming back. It might have been last Thursday when I came back from trivia, but yeah, it's okay because I saw that part where they're like, oh, if you do this, we'll split it, and then he's like, oh, you don't have. And this will be like our final hunt. And he's like, oh, you don't have to worry. This is going to be, you were right about one thing. This is going to be your final one. And he kills them all. He kills very well.
But like they've tied him to a character pre-war, pre-bombs dropping. That is also, and I assume they're going to expand on this, but his wife maybe works for Vault Tech.
Yeah, she's like, I think she's like high up in Vault Tech too.
And he's a pretty popular like Western actor.
Yeah, I really love, and you're right, because they do go back to like he's kind of your link to the past.
The past, yeah.
And they do go back.
I was like, how does that work? Because he would have to be, and it's like, oh,
it threw me off. I was like, it doesn't. What? I was like, why is he still?
I don't know how they do it, but they can. So, 4 in particular, they cryo froze everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you come out of the vault in 4, it's like 200 years after the bombs drop. But you are like, you are you from 200 years prior. So there, in-game lore-wise, there are ways to transport people from when the bombs dropped to today.
You're right. But the ghouls specifically, I think, for whatever reason, have very long lifespans. I know, like, I was reading Wikipedia on ghouls, and they like talk about how like they can take a lot of drugs and they have like a higher tolerance. And there's even a part like early on where Goggins is like, that's a drop of drugs into a big bucket of drugs. They ain't gonna affect me. Like they got all that shit down, but like you don't need to know. I mean, it's a little confusing, even as someone who like I had played the games and shit. Like I was like, why is this guy still alive? And I looked it up and it said, they said ghouls live long. I was like, okay, I'm good. But I don't think you need to know any of that. Like I think like as the show goes on, that makes sense.
Okay, for me, I do so much knowing it, but like I assume like in the game, like they're probably like bosses or something, or are they like wild things you encounter?
They're just like
they're kind of shunned actually. Like humans that don't have radiation poisoning generally don't like being around them.
Yeah, they're like a lower class, but then they're also just kind of like random shit you'll shoot as you're going around. Like, oh, there's some ghouls coming.
But then especially the feral ones, like they'll just be random enemies.
They're like zombies. Yeah,
there are ones that are just out there, and in Fallout, like a lot of open world games, but Fallout in particular gives you a lot of freedom. Like you can treat the ghouls bad, you can kill them. Like friendly ghouls, you can just outright murder them if you want. You could murder an entire town in Fallout if you wanted. If you were able, you had enough ammo and you were high enough level to take them on. But yeah, like the ghouls, as Jeff said, are kind of second-class citizens in the Fallout universe.
I do love to that they go back in time, not just to fill out what was happening in the 1950s, but just getting to see Goggins act with all the makeup on. I was happy for that. I'll say one thing I don't love is the whole kind of show revolves around this MacGuffin. I think that's kind of I think that's kind of it feels like a Jonathan Nolan, that's his name, right? Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah.
Thing where it's like, this is a mystery box and we're going to get to the, and again, like, I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't find where it goes in the end. I'm like, yeah, I saw all that coming. Like, none of it was not a single thing that they reveal in like episode 7 and 8 where I was like, oh wow, oh shit, that like blew my hair back. It's just like, that's where I saw it going. That's the story you're telling.
The other thing, and again, I don't want to spoil, is it feels like this is, and they announced the season 2, but is the fact the season ended?
It felt like they felt so assured that they were getting a season 2 because, in my opinion, like, it doesn't end. It doesn't have a good.
No,
there's shows where I say, "Oh, you know what? That was so good. They could just wrap it up right there. I'm fine." That's how I am about the Last of Us. That's good. That's the perfect ending. This, it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a setup for more adventure.
Yes, it feels like, to be continued.
Yeah. That's the kind of like my two big, like, I don't know about that. But I can't believe they nailed, like, the number one thing that like surprises me is the tone, because I think it's so hard to nail the tone of what Fallout is, because it's like, it's telling like serious, dark shit about war.
Serious but goofy at the same time.
And that's so hard to pull off, especially dramatically, like as a show, like as a video game. Yeah, that's fun that there's all this goofy shit all over, right? But here they somehow pepper it in and it works, man.
I've said this before. I think video games are at their best when they're, because video games can do humor well, and I feel like that's the one thing that they avoid because it's not as serious as like a drama or something like that. Because it's very, because again, because you control a character, it's very easy to kind of do absurd things and poke fun at the fact that you are doing these absurd things, and not necessarily like, like everybody, when the Uncharted was big and everybody kept on, talking about narrative dissonance and the difference between like what you're saying and what you're doing. I'm like, you don't necessarily get that if you're just like poking fun at the fact that, like, yes, you are going on these rampage and
playing a game.
Yeah, and you are poking fun at a very, like, you're essentially poking fun of like Trumpism, and not by name, but like the whole, like, this Fallout is like, this is when America was great. It is very specific 1950s era of like mom with apple pie, and like this threat of nuclear annihilation that all these countries were going through. But we wouldn't do it because nobody's gonna be dumb enough to pull the first bomb.
Instead, they threw all the bombs at once.
So you're enjoying it so far, though, Chris?
Yeah. What I was a little concerned after the first one. I'm like, it was fun. Like, I enjoyed the first episode, but it's like, I don't really know where, like, I know where they're going with this. Like, I see what Lucy's quest is, but I don't really care. But as they moved on in episode 2 and 3, I was like, all right, these are fun characters, and I like being around them.
Yeah, I was hooked. I was hooked when the vault got attacked. That's what hooked me. I was like, oh, because I didn't see it coming for whatever reason. The vault attack. I was like, okay, we're having a wedding, and
I thought like they would get married, and there's some like, I thought they were up to something. I didn't realize they were just gonna like red wedding them in the first episode.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, all right, like, you nailed everything about the game, but then like you did surprise me right away, and it was a cool surprise, and so I was in. And again, I'm just a huge fan of Goggins, so I'm just like, I wanted to watch this no matter what because of him. I think he does get enough good stuff to do in it, and his character becomes, I don't know if you would agree, Earl, I think his character becomes pretty compelling by the end of it.
Yes, I think partially because we get so much more backstory with him. I feel like the person who gets the least amount of even is Maximus.
Yeah, he's just kind of a piece of shit, in
Yeah,
my opinion. Like, I don't know.
it's the only
But
is
you sympathize with him, kind of, because you're like, I guess I would, yeah, if I get
And
like,
he's been adopted into this cult from a young age, and that cult is full of assholes and shitbags.
yeah.
he lives in a world where everyone is a piece of shit. Everyone's out for themselves, and they do a good job of explaining that on the show.
Yeah,
Actually,
there was an interesting, and it was quite telling actually. Is so early on, first thing you kind of meet with Maximus is he's getting the shit beat out of him, and then like one of the guys is just, he's very prominent. I know his face from somewhere, but he becomes, so Maximus takes over as the knight. He's hiding out as Knight Titus, and he gets a new squire, and it's the asshole that was beating, like,
Oh, okay.
helping beat the
Just as a
shit
quick
out of him.
aside, the guy you're talking about was Michael Rappaport.
No, that was Titus.
Yeah,
That
okay.
that was, yeah. No, the
I thought that.
squire though.
Oh no, I know, but I thought you meant the face. Yes, the Squire, and I thought they had a chance to redeem him with the Squire, and yes, you'll see that that's not how it goes, and it's just like, well, and it's not necessarily on Maximus, but it is very much like this is just a fundamentally flawed system.
Yeah, well, and so like that squire though, the new squire for Maximus, and he thinks he's serving Titus. He like they start talking about Maximus, and he's like, like say something nice about him. He was like, he was a nice guy. Like, we treated him bad, but that was because they treated me bad, and then he was new, so I was like, I don't want to be beat up anymore. How about we beat up this new guy? And like the one thing he says at the end of it was like, I wish that he had found somebody to beat up. Holy shit.
he is like a reluctant opportunist. I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, but where he ends up, I'm like, this guy is both a piece of shit, and I can also like get where he's coming from, and or like, what else are you gonna do at that point? And again, like Chris, I'm like,
Yeah,
kind of speaking over your head, but I think Earl might understand what I'm saying.
I understand, and that's
It's
why
like at that when you're at that moment, what do? You just go, okay, I guess this is who I am now. Like,
But yes, there's so many chances where I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it, and it's like, no, he takes the easiest option, and it's like, I mean, that's his character arc, but it's like, oh, you do not. Again, it's a compelling character. Let me not say
I
that,
think he can become. I think he can become very interesting. Like,
but it's like it's a compelling. Like, you're just a horrible person.
he's basically a piece of shit in season one. I could picture him becoming a very
I
interesting
feel like
character as
I
it
feel
goes
like he's
on.
gonna become worse in season 2.
It's
That could be interesting.
it's funny because Maximus is part of the Brotherhood of Steel, and like it's a faction that is like super shitty in the games, but like people just glorify them.
I was going to ask you because I sort of half pay attention when I'm playing the games. I'm like, are they supposed to be like fascistic or whatever? Like,
Yes, very much so.
And they they do a decent job of conveying that on the show, better than the games maybe. But like, because by like halfway through the season, I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are bad, kind of. Like,
Yeah, the Brotherhood is not a
heroes.
Yeah, no,
they're like Starship Troopers. Like,
I mean, and I don't. I think there is no traditional sense hero.
the wasteland is such that like, right, like everyone's out for themselves, right? Like,
yeah, that's very much it. It's like there are different shades of bad.
yeah.
No, nobody's necessarily good, because to survive in the wasteland, like you end up having to do some shitty things.
Yeah.
I'm glad you both liked it. I'm enjoying what I've seen of it. And yeah, it's I think I'm with you, Jeff, that it's astounding that they were able to kind of translate the games so well and just stay as compelling television.
Yeah, I would have thought not possible, and they nailed it. I'm like, again, there's not many video game adaptations I think are good, but this is at the top of it. And I guess good news is that they get to continue the adventure because it just got renewed.
Yeah.
Good. Um,
I'll throw this out there too. My wife, who is like, does no connection to Fallout. She was pretty into the show to the point that in like the last episode, she like put her phone down and was just like, "Oh wait, what are they doing? What's going on?" I was like, "Holy shit!" She like doesn't pay attention to anything. She was into it, and then when I started playing Fallout New Vegas today, she was watching me play. She was like, "Oh, you're so you're from Vault number or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's the thing on my suit." Like she was just like asking all sorts of questions about it. And I was like, "That's pretty cool." Like the show like made her somewhat interested to play the game.
good. All right. Well, so that's Fallout. And guess before we wrap up here, Earl had dropped in earlier in the day. Was it today or yesterday? Nintendo had a little showcase.
Earlier this morning, so yes, today.
Indie World showcase from Nintendo where they showed off a bunch of like little indie titles. Some bigger than others. So let's go through this real quick. Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. That's a name.
A lot of them had names. I will say a lot of them are cute, but I feel like I say that, and then most of them like, yeah, you're cute, and I will never pay you again. So
Yeah. I don't know. That comes out May 23rd. Skim has a neat art style. It's kind of like it looks like it's like hand drawn on paper, like a yellow notepad type thing. I did not watch that trailer though. Stitch is a embroidery puzzle game.
Yeah, it's like an embroidery per cross.
Okay, that's neat.
It looks really cozy. It's like a very relaxing. Like, oh, I don't want to like stress myself out. I'm gonna do this for like 20 minutes and like do a puzzle or two.
That's cool. Like I mean, visually it looks pretty striking. So like if it's like Picross, that could be cool. Bizd BZZT. Looks like it's like a Mega Man type action platformer.
Yeah,
So that could be fun. Cat Quest 3. I didn't know there were
really
three of
fun.
them.
I knew there was. I knew there was. Okay, I knew there was two. The six slightly grander in scale. I think I own the first one. Don't think I've ever played it. I think it was like one of the first during the initial surge, like the switches and first year where there was like a bunch of indie games on the eShop.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. If I'm remembering correctly, this was an Apple Arcade game
Yep,
last year.
and I'm almost certain that it comes out in July, so I imagine that it's exactly 1 year ago from when it was dropped on Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade
And
has
this is
year.
the roguelike.
Yes, the roguelike with 4-player co-op. So I'm intrigued to play it with some people. So
Yeah, that could be fun. Wonder what the pricing on that'll be, but that could be fun. An adventure game called Europa is coming out on Switch. It's already out there somewhere.
that also looks really great. But I will say, between this and Stitch, really terrible names to try to find out more information about. You try to Google Stitch and find a video game.
Yeah, and if you Google Europa, you're just gonna get the moon.
Yeah.
Valley Peaks, also already out on PC, I guess. It is coming to Switch. Or it was already announced for PC coming to Switch. Let's see. I don't Anton Blast. I don't even know what that is. I'm not seeing.
I will say that was my favorite game of the show. It is very much a spiritual successor to Wario and
Okay, that's neat.
Yeah, like that big bombastic kind of like fast paced, insane platformer. it looked really cool. The art style is really nifty. A lot of people compared it to Pizza Tower, which I have not played, but it's very, very much influenced by Wario and
People very much like Pizza Tower last year. I did not play it either, though. Sticky Business is a sticker shop sim.
Oh,
Those are words just put together. Uh, Refined Self, the personality test game. They might be stretching for some stuff here. This one I'm interested in. And WayForward's been doing. They just did that Contra game, which Jeff and I both liked. They are partnering with Atari on this one for Yars Rising.
I will just say this much. Same thing with Contra. It's like Way Forward as a developer. I don't think they found an art style that works for them on like consoles like they did for handhelds because their games are ugly to me. I know
yeah, I
Contra is
hear you.
ugly too, but you folks enjoy. Like, it's a fun game. It's just a very, I guess, not ugly.
There
It's
was a
just
time I liked their art style more than I do now. And I think it's just like what you said. It's just like you got to modernize it a little bit. Like it just
yeah.
looks stuck in like 2012 or something. Like
Yeah, it's like 2012 animation. The gameplay always good, always fun, but yeah,
they're
I
good at
kind of
doing
agree on
retro
that.
games. Like, but what if we did retro games that looked like
Looked a little better.
new? They look new and yeah,
But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Yars Rising.
yeah, fucking
See what
Yars, dude.
um interesting there. Little Kitty Big City. That's coming very soon. Also coming to Game Pass and
Oh,
Steam.
I
Go
didn't
ahead,
realize
Earl.
it was coming. I didn't realize it was coming to Game Pass. I'm
Yep,
down for
that
that.
one's coming to Game Pass next month. And SteamWorld Heist 2. That is coming in August. That is also coming to Game Pass, I believe.
Oh, nice. And I believe Steam World Heist. I think I saw it was like $2 on the eShop right now. So yeah, I guess
I,
if you want to play that,
I don't know what this. I know what SteamWorld is.
I,
I played
I
Quest
big. Oh,
and
I do. I'm
the
a
card
big
game.
fan. Oh, yeah. Okay.
What's the heist one though?
I don't know. I like I said, I played Dig and I played the. They had that weird like turn-based strategy one.
Hmm.
Let me see. Steam World.
They have the City Builder that's out now.
How many games are in this franchise?
A lot. They did Quest, which was the card game.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was like a turn-based RPG card game.
okay, so maybe I was thinking of the original Heist, turn-based strategy action adventure. Where you,
It's just like all the words thrown together in a blender.
yeah, so SteamWorld Tower Defense, which is a DS game, SteamWorld Dig, which is what I think of, which is like the platform Metroidvania,
Yes.
SteamWorld Heist, which is the turn-based strategy action adventure. I'm going with Ricky. SteamWorld Quest, Hand of Gilgamesh, which is a role-playing deck builder. SteamWorld Build, which is a construction and management simulation. And yes, okay, so there we go. So
All
Heist
right.
is a sequel to a game that's 7 years old. Oh, why did I think? Oh, almost a decade. Oh, why did I think this was much newer than it was?
Likely because you got to it later. It seems like a lot of SteamWorld games. I don't know if people jump on them right away. But this one should be hitting Game Pass. I believe I read that earlier today on one of the Xbox sites. Animal Well.
Oh yeah,
This sheet I'm looking at has no information on that. It does look like a side scroller of some sort.
that's what's his name? Donkey.
Oh
Donkey is
yeah.
involved. He's involved with that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious to
I
see
don't
if he
think he
makes any.
developed it or anything. I think he just
No,
helped produce it. Like
I'm curious if he's own if he'll make a donkey video on it.
he promotes it a lot in his videos. I've seen him mention it here and there. And also, I like really dig the look of it. So yeah, I'm interested in that game.
Okay. Yeah, like what I'm looking at on this website, that like it just looks like kind of like pixelated art. So
Yeah, like almost like prehistoric. Like, you know what I mean? Like very old pixel art.
um this is another name. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Yeah,
Puzzle game, black and white puzzle game.
I will just give them credit. I mean, at least those names they stand out.
Yeah. Better than Europa and
You don't even remember it, do you?
it's Stitch.
Yeah,
Stitch.
there you go.
It's like I almost did forget though.
It's not, it's an easier one to remember. It's just like because again, I hit Stitch game and all I got on YouTube were video and Stitch video games.
Yeah. Undying is a zombie survival game coming July 25th. That is also a very generic name.
Yep, I saw that
Um,
next, and I'm like, oh, we're just gonna have that conversation again.
but right after that, I mean, at least the name is interesting. A Dance of Fire and Ice, which makes me think of Game of Thrones.
Always
Of course, it's like a ripoff of the title.
It is a one button rhythm game, which does not make me think of Game of Thrones, but the name at least is standout.
I would be down for a Game of Thrones rhythm game.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is, but who knows? I think we'll have to, when that comes out later in the fall, we'll have to take a look at it. Sagriz, probably not pronouncing that wrong. It is an open world sailing simulation RPG.
That's that's a unique genre.
Yeah,
it's a hodgepodge of words.
New idea. Real new idea you got there.
It's like that, there's a lot of people out there looking for this open world sailing sims. And then, yeah, it looks like the rest of it was for Japanese side of things. Although this game, Bread and Fred, looks neat, has little penguins, but if it's just in Japan, it's unfortunate. So yeah, some stuff out of there that I think all of us are interested in looking at. Nothing big, but
wait. Oh yeah, the only thing at this point, I just find it more. At this point, I find it more funny than anything. It's just a continuous disappointment of everybody when Silk Song does that show up.
Every
Hollow Knight.
Every direct, yeah.
Well, and there was, I guess, and there's always, every time, it's, as you guys said, it's every direct, they're like, oh, maybe they're going to announce Hollow Knight Silk Song to Shadow Drop. But I guess there was some new hype around it because it was rated in Korea or something in the last week. So I guess people were hoping.
I'm glad people love it. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I thought the last time we saw it was at an Xbox conference.
I believe so. But I guess people were just hoping that it would drop with with whoever.
Hoping it drops. I
yes.
mean, when was this game announced?
Is it DLC or a sequel?
It's a sequel.
Oh.
Hollow Knight Silk Song was first announced
February
2019.
Yes, it's been 5 years.
Holy shit. Then that means that like Hollow Knight is even older than that. So, Hollow Knight's old.
Hollow Knight is a game from 2017.
Dude, we're coming up on going towards 10 years.
Yeah, it is. It is over 7 years old at this point. It came out in February of 2017.
I was gonna say it was announced for the PlayStation 4 an Xbox One. I mean, those versions may still come out, but the fact that we're almost more than halfway through this generation is kind of insane to think about.
Did you guys play Hollow Knight? Did you guys like it?
Yeah, I played about 30 hours of it. I liked it, but I just not good enough at it to keep going. I was just like, okay. I can see why people like it. I wish I liked it more. I wish I was like hyped for Silksong. I probably won't get it because it's just like it's a brutal game, you know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just sorry. I'm just looking up this because I was like the last time we saw it was at the Xbox showcase. My head, I'm like, oh, actually, that was in June of 2022. So it's been 2 years since we've seen this game.
Wow. That's. I mean, Jeff, you don't have to buy it.
No, I won't. I'm probably not.
It was announced that it was being released on Game Pass at launch. So
well then, yes, I will play it. I can't wait to give you my opinions on it.
that was also 2 years ago, but I assume their contract is still in place.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Jeff, you're away next week.
I'm out of here, bros. I'll be in Honduras when you guys record next week.
So
record next week.
Yeah,
I will also be MIA because I have a friend coming into town, and I think we're supposed to hang out on Thursday, but I have to double check with them.
All right, so we may give Tony another week off to recover with his broken mouth.
Sorry about that, Tony.
While Jeff and Earl are out, and when we come back in 2 weeks, we will set the record straight and create the actual list of most iconic characters in video games.
And
Echo the Dolphin.
And we will have the Knuckles TV show to discuss.
Oh, is that comes out next week, I believe?
Yes, that's
okay.
it. What is today? Why does my phone not tell me the date?
Thursday.
Oh, it's next Friday. Yes,
so
it comes out
the 26th.
Yeah.
All right, so we will have that. Jeff will have all his stories from his cruise, and
hopefully that's all you have from your cruise.
Yes, hopefully
maybe some crabs.
I don't think you want to get the crabs.
Is it bad?
I don't know. I've never had crabs, but I assume it is. That's what I hear. Yeah, maybe just don't bring that back from Honduras or the Caribbean. But enjoy your trip, Jeff.
Thanks.
And we'll be back you know what? We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're gonna take off next week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Jeff, say goodnight.
Good night.